The biggest misconception about weatherization is that this energy efficient process is limited to only those who live in homes. Fortunately, renting does not limit a tenant's ability to control the energy used in a rental property, regardless if it's a home or an apartment. This webinar will give participants practical weatherization tips and inexpensive ways to save money all year round. Hello, my name is Lynette Pearl, and I am the Senior Associate of Housing with Refugee Housing Solutions, a project of Church World Service under an agreement paid for by the U.S. Department of State. Church World Service is a faith-based organization working to help communities around the globe with sustainable responses to hunger, poverty, displacement, and disaster. So let's jump right into this webinar. So what is weatherization? Well, weatherization, also called weatherproofing or winterizing, protects a home's interior from outside elements like moisture, cold air in winter, hot, humid air in summer, and even sun, snow, and ice damage. When you think of how it works, consider it as a layer of protection around a home or an apartment that makes it safer and more comfortable regardless of the season. So why is it so important? Well, one of the essential non-energy benefits of weatherization is health. Proper weatherproofing can improve the air quality in the home or an apartment. When indoor ventilation and air quality are addressed, air allergens such as pests, mold, and dust mites can be negated, which help populations with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma and emphysema. When homes or apartments are too cold in the winter or too hot in the summer, a resident with a pre-existing medical condition can be triggered or develop an illness. Everyone benefits from weatherization, but populations sensitive to extreme temperatures, such as the elderly, pregnant women, those with disabilities, and children will benefit even more. A weatherized home reduces fatigue, anxiety, and stress, which improves sleep. Fewer bad health days result in fewer missed work and school days, decreasing emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Other benefits that it does, it reduces energy burdens for families and increase energy equity while creating employment opportunity and energy conservation. So usually people think of weatherization, think of winter. It comes to mind. Again, weatherization is a systematic process of a home, energy upgrades and practices designed to keep a home and an apartment comfortable and energy efficient through every season. So in this section of the webinar, I will present energy saving practices and weatherization tips to help keep a home and apartment cool during the summer months. So let's start on some ways to keep an apartment or house cool. One thing, if it's available, use a programmable thermostat. This adjusts the temperature accordingly, and you can adjust it when no one is at home. Use blackout curtains. Now, blackout curtains, they do have a dual purpose. During winter, they can trap heat in, but keep light and heat out during the summer. Simply keeping the blinds closed on hot days will reduce the room's temperature when the outside is hotter. Closing blinds earlier in the day before the sun comes out reduces the amount of heat that enters the home or an apartment. You can also use a dehumidifier. The benefits of a dehumidifier during the summer months is that it reduces the air's moisture, improving the home's air quality and can eliminate potential allergens like mold and mildew. Inhaling damp, excessive indoor air and humidity can trigger pre-existing conditions such as asthma and attract pests and encourage the growth of mold. If you need to learn more about dehumidifiers and the size needed for a specific square foot of space, you can go to energystar.gov. Another practical thing to do is use fans. Now, ceiling fans are the most versatile home appliance, regardless of the season. A ceiling fan can provide cool and warm air, which is done simply by changing the airflow direction. So during the summer, the ceiling fan should go in a counterclockwise direction. This direction helps create a downdraft, which creates a direct cooling breeze. During winter, the fan direction needs to be clockwise to create an updraft and circulate warm air around the room. Now, to save energy, ceiling fans should be turned off when the room is empty. If there is a fan in the bathroom, it should be used to remove heat and humidity after showering or bathing. Also, a kitchen exhaust fan can be used after cooking to assist with pulling hot air and moisture out of the home or apartment. Simply close doors. Close doors on unused rooms. By closing doors to unused rooms during the hottest part of the day, cool air can flow where needed. Vents. Let's talk about vents. Ensure that vents are open and not blocked by furniture or anything else. Another practical thing you can do is just sheets. One way to stay cool at night and minimize using an AC is to have the right type of sheets. Fleece blankets and flannel should be swapped out for cotton. Now, cotton sheets, they are cooler, they're breathable, and can keep moisture from the skin. You can add live plants. Now, by adding live plants, it's a natural way to enhance air quality and keep a home and apartment cooler in the summer. Live plants can keep a house or an apartment cool because plants lose water during transpiration, which cools the air around the plants, leaving it purified and fresh. Also, plants absorb carbon dioxide and releases oxygen, which helps remove toxins from the air. Now, one of the major things you can do is run appliances at night. So in order to save money and energy consumption during the summer, it is recommended that certain appliances should be run after peak hours. Peak hours vary depending on where you live and the energy provider. So during the summer, some power companies, they do an upcharge for electricity use during surges. So to avoid surges, run a full load dishwasher, a washer or dryer early in the morning or late at night, which is best. Now, an electric dryer and dishwasher are appliances that consume energy and generate a lot of heat. So if possible, air drying laundry and hand washing dishes should be an option. In addition, running appliances during the day warms up the house and adds to the sun heating it, causing an AC to overexert itself. Cooking outside. When you cook and bake, it does heat up the home and apartment and it competes with the AC. If there's an outdoor communal area with grills in apartment community, this area should be used to prepare meals during the cooler part of the day or cook several meals in advance. If cooking outdoors is not an option, use appliances that require little electricity and release a least amount of heat. Another thing you can do is designate a cool room. You can determine which room should be a cool room by closing all internal doors during the day, and the room that is the coolest during the heat of the day should be designated as the cool room. So we're going to talk about some more energy saving practices, some weatherization. Turning off the lights when not in use, and swapping out incandescent bulbs with LEDs. It does save energy and it heats well. Now, LEDs not only use significantly less energy than other types of bulbs, but in many cases provide a better quality of light. Now, LED bulbs, they are expensive, but because of the benefits, some government and power companies will subsidize and or provide lighting rebates. Now, here is a screenshot of Bird Dog's Lighting's list of LED light rebate programs by state. Now, this link and all links that are presented in this webinar will be available. One thing you can do, you can insulate electric outlets by installing switch and outlet insulating sealers. It is the easiest and most cost-effective weatherization project. By simply installing sealers on light switches and electric outlets, you can reduce cold drafts during the winter, but keep cool air from escaping in the summer. Now, insulation should be done with the windows as well. Most people think of insulation as something for keeping the heat in during the winter, but the right techniques can help keep living spaces cool during the summer. An insulated window by you can insulate a window by applying window film and weather strips. So now we're going to talk about some practical things you can do during the winter months. Now, insulated windows with plastic, as stated earlier, it keeps heat in the home and apartment during winter. During the summer, adding that extra layer of protective plastic to the inside of a window, it can prevent drafts. However, plastic needs to be properly installed and secure when used as insulation, especially if children are in the home. Now, if younger children are present in the home, shrink wrap covering is not a good idea due to the dangers and risks of suffocation. Now, window strips would be a better option for homes with younger children. Here is a brief video by Ace Hardware on how to properly insulate a window with the window installation kit.
Hi, it's Lou Manfredini, Ace's Home Expert. In this video, we're going to teach you how to install a plastic window film insulating kit. Let me show you how it's done. Window insulating kits come in a lot of sizes and quantities, so pay attention to how many windows you want to do, because while this is a single pack unit, some come in 3 packs, even 5 packs. You also want to pay attention to the sizing to make sure that the opening that you have here, that the plastic inside of it will fit. Now, when it comes to putting a window insulating kit on a window like this, you've got a couple of choices. You can see the frame of the window here. You could apply the insulating kit to the inside, but if you're experiencing drafts or you feel something between this and the actual jamb of the window, you may want to go on the face of the trim, which is what I'm going to do. The single most important thing that you have to do before putting a window film kit on is make sure the window is closed and locked. That way you know that it's as tight as it can possibly be before you put the plastic on. All right, let's get started. Since we're going to go on the face of this trim, I've just got a damp paper towel here that actually have a little window cleaner on it so that the double-sided tape that's going to get applied here sticks. Okay, the kit comes with double-sided tape, and we're going to actually picture frame the window with the double-sided tape. Just kind of line that up as straight as you possibly can. Bring it all the way down, pushing against the part that's going to adhere to the trim itself. Then down here, I'm going to take a little utility knife carefully and just cut a little bit of that excess off. Try not to push too hard because you don't want to damage your trim. I'm going to line that up at the base of it, because remember that I have to peel the back side of this tape off and bring that across. And at this end, I'm going to cut it just as I did with the other piece with the utility knife, ever so slightly, and remove it. And I'm going to go all the way around the window. Okay, so now we take the plastic, kind of spread that out and orient it according to the window. And you want to just sort of line this up. You don't have to be super precise here. We just got to make sure that you set it up so that you don't have it cockeyed, so as you come down to the bottom, it doesn't stick. So what I want to do is go to this top corner and set that, and then come to the side here. And you know, if you don't push too hard, you can sort of peel it away a little bit. And then line up the side, push that in place, come across the top. And kind of pull it as taut as you can, but it doesn't have to be super tight because the hair dryer is going to do all that work now. All right, now we push that on. And now we're ready to hit it with the hair dryer. Okay, any hair dryer would do. Try to stay away from using the high setting because you don't want to burn a hole in the plastic. So I'm going to turn it on low, on warm, and then you just start in one corner. You're probably going to keep the hair dryer about 6 to 8 inches away, and you'll see as you do it, it starts to tighten up. It takes a few minutes, but when this is done properly, the plastic should be so tight that you can see right through it. And that's it. If you need more information, just go to our website, acehardware.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Better yet, stop by your local Ace Hardware store, because Ace is the helpful place.
What a helpful video. Hopefully it helped a lot to explain how to properly install insulation on a window. Let's continue. One thing we're going to talk about if there are storm windows or doors. If the home and apartment has storm windows and or doors, make sure that they are closed and secure. Closed storm windows and doors, they do provide additional insulation, which reduce energy cost. Now, block drafts coming through window sills and below doors. So drafts from window sills and doors, they can be blocked with several options. With window sills, again, plastic, weather stripping, thermal curtains, and blinds. I just learned about a really nifty trick. You can use nail polish, can also be used to seal small gaps around window frames. However, when using nail polish, just make sure that it's clear so it's unnoticeable once it dries. Now, door drafts, they can be blocked with foam tape to help with the seal, or a door sweep, or a door draft stopper. Or you could just simply let the sun shine in during the day. One of the easiest things to do in the winter is letting the sun do the heating. Keeping the blinds or curtains open throughout the day allows the natural sun to heat the home or an apartment, and by closing them at the end of the day, it does traps the heat. Another thing you can do, use rugs. Put rugs on floors. Since they insulate the floor and stop heat loss, rugs increase the temperature of a space. Rugs and carpets are also significantly cozier than hardwood, and large area rugs offer higher insulation and better heat loss reduction than smaller ones. Also, the warmth of rugs help keep feet warm and dry during the winter. Another thing you can do, hang decorations. Although walls don't transfer energy as easily as windows, they still can let out a considerable amount of heat. By hanging decorations, pictures, mirrors, bookshelves, and any other types of things on a wall can act as insulators. Use a humidifier. Keeping humidity levels up during the winter is good for the health, and it benefits the air and furniture as well. It also keeps the air temperature feeling warmer than dry air, so the thermostat can be turned down. And like in the summer and the winter, designate a warm room and let others be colder. This can be especially helpful during emergencies. That can help during winter. So designate a well-insulated room as a warming place. Wear extra layers of clothing and use extra blankets on beds at night. By layering with clothes and using extra blankets at night, you can stay warmer. When it comes to being warm or a winter night, the goal is to control the amount of warmth trapped by the clothes and blankets. So that means the layers closest to the skin are the most important to consider when layering clothes and selecting blankets. Again, the vents. Check the vents, ensure that furniture or personal items are not blocking vents. A heating and cooling equipment is set up to accommodate a home or an apartment specific square footage. So when an air vent is blocked by a furniture or an object, that same amount of air is still pushed through the ventilation system, but now with increased pressure because of limited opportunities for airflow. This forces the HVAC system to work harder and it shortens its lifespan, which overheats the system. So, block vents not only limit heat flow, it can cause severe damage to the unit, but this can also be a fire hazard. So when renting, it is often difficult to know where the landlord's responsibility ends and where a tenant's when it comes regarding weatherization. As the seasons change, this question becomes more pressing. Some weatherization is more extensive and should be the responsibility of the landlord. Landlord and tenant relationship, it is a partnership. So it is imperative that when a person is a resident, you work with that landlord to complete the weatherization process. So we're going to go into what is the landlord responsible for when it comes to weatherization and weatherproofing. Of course, they're responsible for the repair of any exterior and interior cracks, seal leaky windows. So even though a tenant can do basic sealing, it is ultimately the responsibility of the landlord to have windows winterized or replaced when needed. Insulate the HVAC ducts, water heaters, and water pipes with quality materials. A resident can also protect the pipes from freezing by leaving the sink on a low drip. This will keep water moving through the pipes and greatly decrease the likelihood of a frozen or burst pipe. Clean and insulate chimneys, if applicable. If the home or unit has a chimney or fireplace, they're responsible for the installation and the cleaning of the chimney or the fireplace. They are responsible to make sure furnace filters are replaced regularly. So during the coldest months, furnace filters do need to be replaced more frequently. The resident must check with the landlord to know if they are responsible for this task. If so, the landlord needs to outline the schedule and provide training on filter replacement. But usually, filter replacement is the landlord's responsibility. We talked about a programmable thermostat. That is the landlord's responsibility. By installing a programmable thermostat in the home or an apartment, the renter can save money on their heating and cooling bills by setting it up while they are away or sleeping. Clean and inspect the roof and gutters. A landlord should inspect and clean the roof and gutters before winter hits. Now, a roof and gutters full of leaves or debris, it can result in basement flooding for a house and foundation issues. It is also the breeding ground for pests and water damage that can affect the residents. Replace air filters. As with the furnace, the landlord should replace the air filter. So if the landlord requires the resident to do the replacement, a schedule and training should be provided. Cleaning vents and preventative maintenance. Now, a landlord could be proactive with weatherization by practicing preventative maintenance all year round. So what I want to do, I want to talk a little bit about some winter safety. One thing I want to really point out is a person should not use an oven as a space heater. A gas or electric oven or surface unit should not be used for heating. With a gas oven, it may go out or burn inefficiently, which may lead to carbon monoxide poisoning. And an electric oven was not designed for space heating. Space heaters are only as directed if they're using space heaters. Check smoke and CO2 alarms monthly to assure that they are working properly. And I also want to talk about the use of candles, candle safety. Candles should never be used as a heating source or left unattended or burning while sleeping. One thing a person needs to do is create an emergency kit just in case of a power outage. An emergency kit should be available. A basic kit should include water, non-perishable food for several days, a battery powered radio, a flashlight, and medications if you're taking medications, and a first aid kit. If assistance is needed in creating a kit, you can visit the American Red Cross site for an emergency preparedness checklist. And one thing I do want to talk about, if there is a member in a household that relies on medical equipment that requires electricity, you should register that household member and their medical documentation with the utility provider. Other ways to save money, this is where I'm really bad at. Unplug unused appliances. A person can save up to 10% on utilities by unplugging unused appliances. Preheat the oven only when necessary. And use the oven at a constant temperature. Another thing is bathe instead of showering if that's an option. And we're going to talk about pay utilities using a monthly budget plan. With budget billing, a resident can pay a set monthly amount for utilities. Now, this service, it makes energy costs more predictable despite fluctuations in energy uses as the season change. Now, with a budget billing program, the utility company, what they do, they review average energy use for the past 12 or 24 months. Now, if the information is unavailable, they will figure out from the last occupant's usage the average monthly cost, and then anticipated energy price is often used to calculate the new monthly bill under the budget bill planning. Now, I would not recommend using this if you don't have history with your utility provider, if you're a smaller household. For example, say if they're going to use the previous occupant's usage and it was a larger family, of course, the average bill is going to be higher versus someone with a smaller household. So just FYI. Now we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about weatherization assistance in the major programs, because again, people do fall into a little bit of trouble and do need some assistance. I'm going to talk about the primary purpose of the U.S. Department of Energy Weatherization Assistance Program. This is one of the largest one. This department, the Weatherization Assistance Program, is to increase energy efficiency for low-income households while reducing the burden of home energy costs on low-income families. So why is it so important? This program is so important because it helps keep communities vital and assist them in revitalizing themselves by making houses and apartments livable and safe. If you do need to find out about a weatherization assistant program in your area, here's a snapshot of what their main site looks like. Again, this link will be provided to you, and you can simply find your state, log on to your state, and it'll show you a program that's available in your state. Another large weatherization assistance program is the Low Income Housing Energy Assistance. It is United States Federal Social Service Program. It was established in 1981 and is funded annually. The mission of LIHEAP is to assist low-income households, particularly those with the lowest incomes. They do pay a high portion of their income towards energy bills. Unlike the Weatherization Assistance Program, LIHEAP, it is a short-term, with WAP being a long-term program. Another organization is community action agencies. They can be either a local, private, or public nonprofit organizations, and they carry out the Community Action Program, which was founded by 1964 Economic Opportunity Act. And their goal was to fight poverty by empowering the poor as part of the war on poverty. Now, another resource you can utilize to find weatherization assistance is the 211 system. 211, it is a free telephone number providing access to local community service It is available in multiple languages and allows those in need to access information and obtain referrals to physical and mental health resources, housing utilities, food and employment assistance, and suicide and crisis intervention. And I'm going to go back to, again, here is a snapshot. You can go, this link will be provided for you. You can go to your state and you can hit and find out where any weatherization assistant program is available in your area. Now we're going to talk a little about how to apply, and this is just generalized because each program is slightly different based on funding availability. The first thing you would need to do is locate a weatherization agency or program. I do know, again, these are just, I'm just generalizing. Some Salvation Armies and some Catholic charities, depending on this, do offer weatherization assistance. Again, they vary from each agency. So once you locate an agency that has assistance, they're going to, because the goal is to help low-income families, they're going to try to, you're going to have to determine your eligibility to see if you actually qualify for the program. Again, this varies from different geographic areas and based on funding sources. Just FYI, this is just general information. And part of the eligibility, they are going to have a person fill out an application. And the general things that they do collect for an application, of course, legal identification. If you do not have a state driver's license or a state ID, you can use your I-94 or traveling papers. Of course, you're going to have account and billing information. Again, because it is income based, you would have to verify your income. Proof of income. So if you're receiving a person is receiving assistance from a resettlement agency, the letter of support, or they are receiving Social Security, that award letter, which they're receiving per month. And they're going to require all income verification from all adults in the household over the age of 18. And of course, they are going to request a lease to make sure whoever's requesting that assistance, their name is on the lease. So I want to go generalize. I'm going to go over a little bit of disconnection laws. And you're probably like, what is disconnection laws? So what are state disconnection policies and laws? Most states do have laws, rules, and regulations in place that determine when an electric, gas, water, or utility company may disconnect a customer's service. Now, the rules and laws may prevent a shutoff of heat, power, electricity during winter or summer. Now, these laws do vary by state, and they were put in place to protect the elderly, families with children, and those with disabilities and medical conditions. States will regulate if a utility company can turn off the heat in the cold winter months, or laws are determined if an energy company can turn off electricity or lights during the hot summer, among other scenarios. So what is the hot weather rule? This is when the National Weather Service predicts during a certain months, if temperatures rise above a certain degree, services cannot be disconnected or shut off. Now, this rule does vary by state. I'll pick on myself. For example, I live in Missouri, and based on Missouri state laws, between June 1st and September 30th, utility companies are prohibited from disconnecting service if the National Weather Local Service forecasts that between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., the temperature will rise above 95 degrees, or the heat index is 105. So shutoffs are not allowed within that 24-hour period. Again, this rule varies state by state. And this is similar with the cold weather rule. Again, this is when the National Weather Service predicts certain months, temperatures drop below a certain degree, services cannot be disconnected or shut off. Again, I'm gonna pick on myself. For Missouri, this rule goes into effect between November 1st, but ends March 31st. So again, there will be a link provided where you can check with your rules for your particular state. Now, one thing I want to point out is medical necessity for utilities. As I mentioned earlier, if there is a person in a household that relies on electricity for medical equipment, that person should register with the local power company and community energy program. If there's a documented medical condition, and again, depending on the state rules, a utility provider must postpone the shutoff for up to 21 days if the shutoff affects the medical condition. Now, I want to talk about landlords. Now, if the landlord is responsible for the utilities and they're shut off, the resident can demand that the landlord pay the bill immediately. If the landlord states that they're going to pay it, the resident has every right to ask when and actually ask for confirmation from the landlord. That's if they're responsible for the utilities. Now, if the landlord does not pay, what a tenant can do, they can pay the bill themselves and then take that amount that they paid, as long as they have the documentation, off the next month's rent. I want to make sure I put this in there. By the way, the lease does outline who is responsible for what utilities. Again, if it's in the lease and it states that the landlord are responsible for certain utilities and they get shut off, they are responsible for returning those utilities back on. And there are some reasons that utilities can be disconnected. Some of them are meter tampering. If you're stealing services, or if the utility company find that there's unsafe conditions, and if a person fraudulently applies for service. Here is a brief video by Fine Law on what to do if your utility company tries to cut off your service. So again, this brief video will be available. The link will be available. Well, this concludes our webinar. Hopefully you got some tips and some information. Feel free to go to our website, www.refugeehousing.org, and check out additional resources we do have available. After reviewing this webinar, if you have additional questions, feel free to email me. My email is lpro@cwsglobal.org. And also, we do offer technical assistance on Mondays and Wednesdays. So you can simply go to our website and book a session with me. Our TAs are 30 minutes. However, if you need additional time, again, feel free to reach out to me by email and request additional time for a TA. Hopefully this was a helpful session and you have a blessed day.